Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Department of Justice Great Hall. It is a real pleasure to have you here this afternoon for the 7th Annual Department of Justice Veterans Appreciation Ceremony. I'm Lee Loftus. I'm the Assistant Attorney General for Administration, and I really am honored to be here as we recognize our country's veterans, and in particular, the veterans who are an important part of the Department of Justice family. Before we begin today's program, please join me in welcoming on the stage Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Dan Coates, the 5th Director of the National Intelligence. Thank you both for taking the time today to join us here in the Great Hall. If everyone would please be seated. Allow me to also welcome Rachel Brand, our Associate Attorney General here at the Department of Justice. I see several component heads here. Thank you all for joining us. We really have a nice program this afternoon, and for those of you here in the Great Hall, I think you're in for a treat. And for those of you watching on the Justice Television Network, I hope you enjoy this ceremony as well. At this time, if you will please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Joint Armed Forces Color Guard of the Military District of Washington. Please be seated, everyone. And please join me in a round of applause for the Armed Forces Color Guard. And also, let's express our appreciation to Rhea Walker. She's one of our own Justice Department employees for her beautiful rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. Thank you, Rhea. As we honor our country's veterans, it's a privilege to stand before a select group of Department of Justice employees who have served the cause of justice across the country and across the world. To recognize those of you here in the audience today and those of us joining us around the department for your time in the military, we are going to play a medley of armed service songs, and when your service song comes on, if you'd please rise and be recognized when your song comes on, that would be nice. So please join us for this special musical military tribute. Thank you all. On Veterans Day each year, the United States honors the service and sacrifice of over 21 million American veterans who have guaranteed our freedom and defended our nation. This is really one of my favorite events of the year. It's a chance to say thank you, and is a chance to recognize the large number of veterans who come to work here at the Department of Justice because their belief, your belief, in our national security and law enforcement missions. We are glad to have you here at the Department of Justice. And I think you'll hear that in the remarks to come. It's now my privilege today to introduce the Attorney General for his remarks and for the introduction of Director Coates. The Attorney General's affinity for our military and our veterans runs deep. As a senator, he was a strong supporter of the armed services, and for 13 years he served in the United States Army Reserve, attaining the rank of captain. After originally serving the department for more than 14 years, 12 of which were as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Alabama, he returned to the Justice Department on February 9th this year as the 84th Attorney General of the United States. Everyone, please welcome the Attorney General, our Attorney General, Jeff Sessions.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Lee. This is indeed a good celebration. I value so much those of you who've served your country in far more intensive areas of combat and other things than I had the responsibility to undertake, but I do value that, and I was surprised, frankly, how many members of the military, former members or active in Guard and Reserve now, that have been participating in the Department of Justice. Lee has a pretty tough little job making sure this department stays on track financially. I hope all of you have gotten your paycheck lately. If not, let me know. We'll make sure you at least get paid. Rhea, thank you for that outstanding rendition of the national anthem. We value you and your service so much. It's a pleasure to be with you, to welcome our valued colleagues and distinguished guests as we recognize our outstanding veterans here at the Department of Justice. I'd like to extend a special welcome to our keynote speaker, my wonderful former Senate colleague and good friend, Dan Coates. He has so much to do, and we appreciate, Dan, that your willingness to take time out of your schedule to be with us. He's now the Director of National Intelligence, once again called to service and provide leadership to the country he truly loves. Thank you for being a part of this. But most of all, I'd like to express my appreciation to our veterans for your dedicated service to the department and our nation. A few weeks from now, we will celebrate a uniquely American holiday, Thanksgiving. With roots going back to Washington and even to the 1620s, it's a day when we stop and give thanks for the blessings that we have all received. And in America, we've got a lot to be thankful for. We're the most prosperous nation in history. We have the oldest Constitution still in use, meaning we have had the most durable, stable government and legal system and democracy in the history of the world. We are home to the world's best educational institutions, the best doctors, the best scientists, the best scholars, the finest military and finest law officers the world has known. We are truly blessed from sea to shining sea, but I'd like to suggest to you that our blessings are only possible because of the people we honor on Veterans Day. They are only possible because of those of you who served. On behalf of the men and women of the Department of Justice, it's my honor to say thank you for your service. A few weeks ago, General Kelly gave a moving statement. General Kelly is a real patriot. He wakes up every day determined to do the right thing. And my confidence in him just continues to grow. My respect for him grows. He called our men and women in uniform the 1%. He spoke of the troops, of our troops as the, quote, very best our country produces. He said there are tens of thousands of American kids doing the nation's bidding all around the globe. They don't have to be in uniform. They don't do it for any other reason. Selfless devotion to this great nation, not for any other reason than that they love their country. I served in the Army Reserve. I met some remarkable people. Many served in combat. I'm still inspired by that patriotism today. Some of you had to leave the comforts of home for a foxhole or a ship. You had to leave safely for danger, so the rest of us didn't have to. I'm sure some of you have scars to show for it. You've given up much, and no one can hand you or repay you for that. So I'm grateful that you are a part of the Justice family. 28,000 veterans who serve here in the Department of Justice continue to make sacrifices to protect our rights and freedoms. After all, the first of our civil rights is the right to be safe. Every other initiative of government depends upon the success of our military and our law enforcement. No matter what your role is at the department, no matter what your task, it is part of this larger goal of protecting the rights of the American people. And that's the same goal those of you who served in the military gave yourself to when you were in uniform. And I would suggest to you, not only do we have the most technologically advanced military, we also have the best trained military, the best led military, and it may not be politically correct to say it, the most ferocious, courageous military in the world. You do not want to be in combat against the United States military. I've seen them there. I've seen them in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I know this new generation is courageous and tough and fearless, and they go where they're asked to go, knowing it's a difficult task that they're being asked to undertake. So I want to personally thank you, and on behalf of President Trump, to extend his thank you to all of you. So it's now my honor to introduce the keynote speaker, our Director of National Intelligence, the Honorable Dan Coates. He graduated from Wheaton College, a fine liberal arts school, where he met his fabulous wife, Marsha. I got to say, Dan's great, but she's greater, if you want to know the truth. He served in the Army in 66 to 68, followed his military service. He got his law degree in 72 on law review at Indiana. That's pretty good. He went on to work in corporate counsel before joining the office of then Congressman Dan Quayle. From 81 to 99, he served in the U.S. House of Representatives and then was elected to the Senate. During this time in Congress, he served on the Armed Services Committee, a very valuable member of that committee, and the Select Committee on Intelligence. He retired from the Senate in 99. He promised not to run again, and so he followed his promise, as Dan always does, and but he gets called back into service. He was called to be ambassador to Germany, and he served there from 2001 to 2005. And then we called on him to run for the Senate again, and he did and won, and he came back to the Senate in 2011. He was sworn in March 16th as the 5th Director of National Intelligence. He leads the intelligence community and serves as the principal intelligence advisor to President Trump. I remember very distinctly, and I've heard other people talk about a very special luncheon we had in the Senate. We have those every week, and the Republicans have a meeting, a luncheon every week. And Dan was there, and it was, I think, his last day with us to have lunch before he left the Senate. And Phil Gramm said there's nobody he's ever seen in the Senate that more epitomizes the high qualities of a United States Senator than Dan Coates. I agree. He's one of the finest people, a person of integrity, judgment, a man of faith and decency, a family man who loves his country. Please join me in welcoming Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coates.
Overly generous.
No. Thank you.
Attorney General Jeff, that is overly generous. welcome. I thank you. It's halfway through, you got a little bit of feeling what senatorial courtesy is. Those of you who tune into C-SPAN to watch the Senate in action, I'm not going to ask for a raise of hands because I don't want to see no hands raised. Know that we go overboard in praising each other because we don't get a lot of that from outside. My most distinguished and close friend from the state of such and such, who just stuck a knife in my back, want to commend him on so forth and so on. Anyway, that's the Senate, and Jeff, thank you. It's just been a privilege to serve with you. I don't think either one of us anticipated we would be sitting here doing what we're doing, and so it has been quite an adventure for both of us. I want to call out a thanks to Rhea, who obviously moonlights in some operatic endeavor somewhere. What a beautiful rendition of the national anthem. And Rachel Brand, sitting here in the front row, I had the distinct privilege of serving and working with her in the nomination and confirmation process for then Judge Alito and now Justice Alito. We spent most parts of the day for over a 3-month period of time through the Byzantine confirmation process that took place, and it was one of the most interesting and challenging but also rewarding times of my service, and having that privilege of that opportunity when I was not in the Senate and had finished the Senate. My job was to Sherpa get the doors open, get the judge in the right place. Rachel's job was to be the brains of the whole operation, and she had no problem living up to that quality. So Rachel, it's nice to see you again. It's really not a good way to start when you're coming to a Veterans Appreciation Ceremony. We're standing up in the wrong song for which service you served in. You saw me pop up here. Now, that's the first time those caissons rolling along has not been the first song. So Jeff was sitting there saying, why is he standing? And must be the Army. So I don't remember that song either. Anyway, there we were. We got to stand up twice on that. Well, I tasked my group back at the office of the Director of National Intelligence for a little intelligence, and they told me this is the 7th running that you've held this event at the DOJ, and I think it's a real honor for me to be able to participate with you. And they told me that a very significant portion of the Department of Justice was manned and womaned by former veterans. I think that's pretty impressive. 28,000 is quite a number. As the head of the intelligence community, I can attest to the fact that we absolutely could not do our work without the participation in what veterans contribute to our mission. In fact, a very significant percentage of the IC's workforce are current or former service members, and our Defense Intelligence Agency, which is part of the intelligence community, not only has a workforce that is comprised of well over 50% of veterans and former active military members, but they specifically tailor much of their intelligence gathering products for the warfare fighters across the globe. And all of this is to say just how essential veterans have been and currently are and always will be a very significant part of the intelligence community, and as well as for the broader government as a whole. Veterans help us ensure that we are getting the right information to the people who need it the most, and they get it to them as quickly as they can. So let me begin the day, or my remarks here, by saying thank you. Thank you to all those veterans who are here today, and it was a pleasure to see you stand during the medley of songs that was presented earlier. I've learned a lot in just a few months, about 8 months now, as tenure as Director of National Intelligence, and I'd like to just mention 3 things to you today. First, the people who protect and defend Americans, whether it's the intelligence community, law enforcement, or our military, are truly exceptional people. Each and every one of you in this room today could be doing easier work for more financial benefit and for an easier lifestyle. And yet, here you are. I spent a good deal of my time early on when I became D&I to sit down with our young officers and others who have chosen to join the intelligence community and this extremely challenging line of work, and ask them questions as to why they made this choice and how they made this choice. Knowing how hard some of this work is, knowing that we're a 24/7 operation, the threats don't decline at sunset. Overwhelmingly, the response has been the sense of purpose that we gain from the work that we do. The word mission is leveraged in almost every response. And despite the long hours, the lack of public recognition, and the less than competitive wages in many ways, every person I talked to spoke about the reward of being part of an essential mission which keeps our country safe. And while in the House and the Senate and as ambassador to Germany in the wake of 9/11, I can personally attest to the transformation I have seen that is taking place as we address our mission and the threats that we currently face. From terrorist threats abroad and here at home, which we tragically have just been reminded of a few days ago in New York, to the growing cyber threat, and one of my greatest concerns, to weapons proliferators, drug traffickers, transnational crime. All of these threats and many more threats must be addressed together as law enforcement and an intelligence community work to coordinate their efforts. The lesson learned from 9/11 is that without the integration of the process and the cooperation and information sharing among our various agencies, the intelligence community, the law enforcement community, and others who are engaged, we are not going to be able to successfully address these threats. What veterans uniquely offer to us, and beyond their brain power, is the insight that they have gained from experience. They know better than most what it means to be on the receiving end of our collection intelligence and insight. They know what information our warfare fighters need to help to stop these threats before they come to our shores. So I'm here today to express my appreciation for all the veterans who serve among us, one of whom came to my attention as I was preparing for this event. He is currently an analyst in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, National Counterterrorism Center. He served for over a decade in the Army, 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. On that tour in Afghanistan, his vehicle hit an IED device, leaving him with a broken back, broken jaw, broken 10 ribs, and a collapsed lung. He spent 18 months recovering at Walter Reed, and during that time he pursued an internship at the NCTC through our Wounded Warriors program. He eventually medically retired from the military and became a full-time civilian analyst at the NCTC. And despite his injuries, he said he loved every minute of serving his country in the U.S. Army. He explains that even though he can no longer serve in the military, he finds contentment in coming to work every day at NCTC knowing that he is still serving and working to keep Americans safe. Corey Ferris is a story is as humbling as it is inspiring. We are fortunate to have officers like him across the IC within the DOG, and Corey is here today, and I'd like him to stand and have you recognize his contributions to his country. Even though the law enforcement and intel communities often spend a lot of time ensuring that we do not cross too far into each other's lanes, we have a great deal in common. Officers whose hallmark characteristics are their integrity, their commitment, and their passion. The American people place their trust in all of us who carry out our difficult missions. They trust in us to keep them safe. They trust in us to do so in a manner consistent with our nation's laws and wishes. We have the privilege of working in public service, and in return the American people the best of our professionalism and our courage, something our veterans know better than anyone else. These are characteristics that our veterans know well, and I call on all of you to show in the way, your respective offices. I'd like to close by reciting a line from one of my favorite poems, written by Ellen Sturgis Hooper. She said, "I slept and dreamed that life was a beauty. I woke and found that life was a duty." I think that applies to everyone here today sitting in this room, and those particularly of our veterans who have many given the ultimate sacrifice, those who suffer from debilitating wounds, those who continue to serve their country as they have today. So we're here today, all of us, dealing not necessarily with beauty, that's pretty clear, but it's our sense of duty that brings us, all of us, together. And it's in my belief that in this sense of duty we share, there is much beauty to be found. So, thanks to all of you for carrying out your duty. America is a great country because of your service. Each of us has been blessed by our Creator with the gift of America. So may God continue to bless our beloved land. Jeff, you and your team, all of you here, and may God bless the United States of America. And thank you very much for the privilege of speaking to you today.
Well, thank you, Director Coates, for those inspiring remarks, and thank you, Attorney General Sessions, for your remarks. Really, I think, wonderful remarks to honor our veterans and the people who serve this nation. As I said earlier in the program, that this is one of my favorite events. It's one of my favorite events because, as I say, it's a chance to say thank you to everyone who has served. And when you hear the stories about people who have sacrificed, it really is, I think, an inspiring thing, and it's an important thing that we get together every year and recognize everyone who has served. If you would, just pause for a moment silently and recognize the folks who have sacrificed for this nation, who have been injured for this nation, who are still serving today in harm's way. Please give them just a moment of silent prayer. Thank you, you guys. This is the conclusion of our program. As I say, it's an important one. I really think that it was made better by all of you coming out today and really showing how much you care about this country and about the people who serve it. And I just want to say thank you. And again, thank you to Director Coates and Attorney General Sessions for giving remarks today. Thank you, everyone.